Hello again, it's Scompy. It's very windy out here today, maybe 40-mile-an-hour winds. Gonna take a little walk again. Gonna make this video a little on the shorter side, but I thought I'd do a little video on quantum chaos. Yes, chaos. It has to be pronounced that way, I think, because I don't consider it a game, even though it's a game, and there's reasons why it's not a game. So if you want to make it into a game, do it yourself. You can share this quantum chaos goodness with anyone you want. That's why I wrote it, so people can, you know, do whatever they want with it. You can just read through it, the entire quantum chaos little like mini blog or whatever I call it. I was working on it for about maybe 3 or 4 days, off and on, all over the place over the holidays with all the relatives around, everything like that. But I kind of wanted to, you know, pull a narrative through the piece, as you see, kind of a off the wall, not weird or totally strange, but kind of to invoke a relatedness that, coming from the perspective of this individual born into the world in our modern age and what that person might be facing. So I think it's important to kind of have that perspective, especially if you're not a parent. So that's part of the motivation of writing this, is coming from that perspective of being a parent and seeing the parents dealing with so many issues now in their lives, with things going off the charts, with autism, with neurological problems, with weird behaviors and mood swings, kids having weird interactions with other kids. Of course, the relatedness is now more with tech and not as much with friends or with nature. There's just, across the board, society has really changed since my generation. I was brought up in the 1970s and really experienced my teenage years right in the middle of the 80s. So it was a totally different time. If you're gonna watch any movie and with your blue blockers at home on a DVD, I probably would recommend something like Hot Tub Time Machine or Back to the Future or something that is a little like time warp flavor feeling. So it gives you an idea, a glimpse into the past of how people used to interact with each other and how people used to like just naturally get outside a lot, even on a cold, windy day where it feels like it's a wind chill factor of, like, I don't know, maybe 2 degrees out. I'm very, 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 very cold right now. But that's good. That's good. I gotta look at the bright side of it. I'm cold because I'm standing in the shade. What am I doing? I gotta get down to my rock where I know it's in the sun. Okay, I'm just gonna come down here. So, yeah, just talking about that side of it all. Comparison and not forgetting the past and knowing your history is super, super important to know. Perspective, like having perspective, is kind of like helps to form observation. There's this like relationship that I found through my life that I don't really question things and formulate questions well enough unless I have good perspective. And in order to get good perspective, you have to, I don't know, like have that experience and the past knowledge of how things were. And that's a little bit what I'm afraid of, is that kids that are born today in 2016, almost 2017, this feels good. I'm not going to swing the camera around this time. I'm going to keep it stable. I noticed in a couple other videos I was going like blah, 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 and I'm sorry for that. All right. But yeah, I'm noticing in 2016, if I'm a parent, I give birth to a nice little girl boy, and in this age of technology, that kid might be absolutely fine, actually. Looking at this cup half full, that kid could just happen to live in a good spot without the parents knowing what's around them with technology, with RF. There are pockets you can find, and there's going to be all kinds of people safe, secure, good in their health. A lot less exposure to poisons and all the badness that comes along with this life, and keeping ourselves in balance all the time. I mean, we're going to have always a segment of the population that will survive, in my opinion, and they'll be fine, and they'll always like wonder, oh, everyone else must be, I don't know, just not exercising enough, or maybe not eating enough supplements, you know, or maybe they're not, you know, maybe they're not getting online and having enough friends, or like however they attribute whatever they come up with is going to be based on perspective. And a lot of that perspective has to do with how they can compare a life they knew a long time ago, the history of those lives, and really starting to dig in a lot deeper to just how people used to live. Like reading an autobiography from somebody in the 1800s could go a long way to really shape a person, because they might learn something crazy about how people used to do things back in that timeline, and have a real strong understanding of, wait a minute, why are we doing all these things this way when the Egyptians back in, you know, 200 BC were out in the sun continuously, you know, making new medicines, doing all this, you know, like learning more of the history of science of what happened, you know, even thousands of years ago, to have a little more perspective on the day we're in today, and everyone living in the moment, not considering the past enough. You know, wanting to live in the moment, that's great. We all want to do that, but we have to reflect, I think, from time to time to get the perspective, and that perspective leads to formulating, like I'm saying, the correct questions about problems we're experiencing today. Because if you never ask the right question, then you never will potentially find solutions to your problems that might be right in front of you. And it's weird in a way that from my generation, from a lot of people in my era, like a lot of this is just common sense. Like you just know, you just had that perception about you a lot of times. And I see, I don't know if it's more of maybe a media narrative I'm seeing now, where they want to like control the narrative to the point of controlling the questions to ask. And there's got to be more people out there that ruffles the feathers of the mainstream, that get people into a thought process that is outside of their bubble, but in a fun, interesting way, where they might not have ever been exposed to a certain kind of, you know, crafting of words. So that was the whole insight into doing my Quantum Chaos, to kind of give that angle of just quirkiness, but kind of a dry, dark humor at times through it, and not like, you know, just kind of having fun and playing around with it and thinking like, hey, what is it going to be like being born in this generation, in that contrast to what I experienced, completely opposite of like it's literally, you know, on its head compared to what my generation was like. So that was kind of like my thought process, my emphasis behind why I wrote how I wrote the piece and the different parts of it. And then also I wanted to throw in just like angles that I know would get people to go, whoa, I think I want to keep reading this thing. You know, when you get to section F, you'll experience that pretty quick. So I'll leave it at that. Have fun. for the rest of the year here. You don't have much longer, and welcome to 2017. I guess I'll end it here. Have a good one.